Okay, there we are. It's rolling. All right, so let's get started then. And three, two, one. Good morning. I'm in Sweden today, and with me from Utah, I have Charley Johnson. Charley is with us today at Limitless Podcast to talk about the position of Chief Consciousness Officer. And he is a CEO, he is a Chief Conscious Officer with CCO. Charley, a warm welcome to you. How are you today?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, great to have you here with us. Would you like to just start by introducing yourself briefly to the listeners, please?
Yeah, born and raised in Utah, business background. Switched from business to the nonprofit world with the famous book and movie Pay It Forward. Traveled the world, bunch of random acts of kindness. During that time, I spent about a decade with a very enlightened individual who helped me remove the bias and conditioning, kind of stripped me down to a neutral state, which in a very polarized world, I can't imagine anything more priceless than someone who's neutral and understands both sides. And from those three unique experiences, I bridged them together to create the Chief Consciousness Officer, which we are pioneering and bringing into the C-suite. So it becomes a staple, just like 30, 40 years ago when technology took over, companies started hiring a CTO. Now the CTO is the second person hired after the CEO.
Oh, I love that. And isn't this really needed, Charley, these days? Indeed, someone who's neutral, and perhaps I'm in a good country for that. Sweden was
Yep.
remaining neutral for quite a long time, and it's about how do you stand on both sides and keeping yourself neutral. It's getting harder and harder these days, and
Mm-hmm.
and perhaps mentioning that on Sweden, then where I am today, well, it's not neutral anymore, but they tried for a long time. Maybe they should have consulted you before they took a side, and so really looking really looking forward to dig into this, Charley. This sounds like a very, very timely question. So, yeah. So how did you get into all of this?
The time with my teacher, when he started teaching me about consciousness, he had me read dozens and dozens of books, very high level books. And he was giving it to me to read, not to fill my head with knowledge because our minds are already full, very overwhelmed, especially today. He was having me read these books for me to come to the conclusion that it's all coming from the same source. Catholic, atheist, Republican, Democrat, right, wrong, good, bad, up and down, this country, that country, my beliefs, your beliefs, they're all
Mhm.
coming from the same source. So for us to be, since the beginning of humanity, at such odds with each other because you don't believe what I believe or my political views are this, we're willing to kill each other over it, all the division and conflict, especially within business, between employees and executives, between teammates and everything. Um, that's where it came about. The neutrality, the understanding of consciousness, the understanding that consciousness is the root. And for what, the last 20, 30 years in business, we have conscious capitalism, conscious leadership. We have wellness programs. We have all the coaches, all the consultants. Everyone's expertise is about retention rate and burnout. Every one of those is the worst it's ever been. So what am I missing? What you start to understand with consciousness is all the retention rates, the burnouts, the ups and downs, they're all the leaves of a tree. You cut off a leaf, it just grows back. If you really want to get to the root of the issue, you need to come to consciousness. That is the understanding, your strategies in consciousness, your marketing's in consciousness, your clarity, your culture, your burnout rate, your HR, your CEO, your employees. Everything's consciousness. It's fundamental to our reality. So as that becomes the center of humanity, companies are going to want to have someone on position who understands that.
Yeah, I love that, and it's so true that people are there to take a side. And I also listened to one keynote speaker who basically said yesterday, not yesterday, but recently, that when we are born, we already framed. We're given a name, we're given a passport, we're given a religion, we are even given the football teams to support. There's so much that we are framed already from our birth that we cannot
Uh-huh.
choose. Yeah, and then we defend that for that side for the rest of our life without understanding why.
Exactly. And if, like here in Utah, it's very religious. If there was a kid born in Utah to the same Mormon family, but adopted by a Japanese family from day one, they'd be Japanese and they'd be Buddhist. So
Mm.
when you talk about we're given a passport, a name, and the football club to root for, and a religion because that's where our parents did.
Mm.
If you were given different parents, a different club, a different country, you would have different beliefs, different languages, different ideals, different soccer clubs, different cares. So
Mm.
my question to everyone always is, what's better, heads
Mm.
or tails of the coin? Now, any logical person says they're the same. And I would say, no shit. So then the ultimate question is not Republican or Democrat, my football team or your football team, God or no God. It's
Mm.
where did the coin come from? The coin came from consciousness. And once more people, companies, organizations start to understand that, whether they understand it or not, but they start to realize it and become more aware of it. Someone like a CTO 30 years ago that knew how to code and put website and get everyone online, the chief consciousness officer is going to bring neutrality and help that company understand consciousnness at a level they've never had before.
Mm. And yeah, I can clearly see that. And why do you believe companies then would need this more than ever?
Because everything they've done doesn't seem to be working. And since the beginning of humanity, we've been divided and conflicted. Right
Mm.
now, it's the worst it's ever been with the polarity and polarization of everything from business to politics to war to religion to everything. And if, as Einstein said, the same mind that created the problem can't solve it, if we approach this, especially in business with burnout, retention, division, everything, if we approach it with the same book, the same expert, and someone who says it's broken, but let me fix it with the same fundamentals and the same foundation they're all coming from, not only are you not going to get the same results, it's actually going to get worse, which it's been proven time and time again. We're slowly going down the slope. So my only question to them is, it's not about the CCO and what they bring to the table. The ultimate question is, what you've been doing, how does that look? How's it working? How's the wellness program? How's the chief people officer? How's the chief happiness officer? How's HR hiring? It seems to be pure chaos. It seems to be getting worse. So
Yeah.
the expertise of a conscious leadership, the expertise of the executives, the expertise of these experts, it's right. It's good information.
Yeah.
But if they've not brought in the level of clarity and the levels of consciousness into a company and don't understand that their employees are too overwhelmed to implement and absorb that information, there's a reason why it's not working. The chief consciousness officer takes everyone from here to here. It expands. It takes their mind, expands the box the mind's in so it has space to absorb information. This position becomes a secret weapon for everyone in the company, and it's for all employees full time. It's not just for the executives for 4 weeks and then no one cares about the other 11 months of the year. It's full time, all employees. It's the most crucial position humanity's ever come across, ever.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. And how does this role then differ from, let's say, traditional C-suite roles and positions like the CEO and chief people officer and so on?
They become a secret weapon to the people
Mm.
officer, to the CEO, to HR, to finance, to marketing, to sales. Let's say marketing goes in and they need new ideas. Their creativity's here. For the last
Mm.
10 years, it's always been in this limited perception. Well, the more creativity, the more solutions, the more everything is out here. This position creates that. It helps CEO with strategy. It helps HR hire different individuals. It helps finance understand things. It helps manufacturing see things, solutions to problems they didn't have a week before. Because if everyone's here and everything they've done, every system they've built, every culture they've created is here, then the solutions they have access to are here. You've got all the solutions outside of that limited perception. The chief consciousness officer expands that awareness. Plus, all the division and conflict within a company. Everyone talks about HR. They're legally having to be neutral. A CEO will say to each their own. I'll listen to both sides. But that has not been proven the choice. Everyone knows where everyone stands politically. Everyone knows where everyone stands religiously. And you can say you don't care, but look at the world. If you don't have my belief, I may have a wall up to you subconsciously or consciously. Having this position, having someone neutral who gives the CEO full access to 100% of the picture and 50% more solutions,
Mm.
it's something they've never had. It's something they've never had on staff. And with the way everything's going and everything they've tried, what do you have to lose?
Yeah, well said, Charlie. And then obviously this must have a huge impact on the whole company culture and so on. Could you elaborate a little bit on what the chief conscious officer can do for the company culture and how would that affect then the decision making and what about the long-term growth of the company?
Well, first of all, the long-term growth, it starts with the people. So if the people are happier, there's less
Mm.
division and conflict, there's less stress. Because if you're here, it's kind of
Mm.
stressful to have all that information coming out, limited perception. This is
Mm.
kind of like a release valve. So it helps all the employees. As far as growth, that growth comes from marketing and sales in a sense. You're giving them solutions, you're giving them better questions, better answers. They have access to better ideas. Marketing's more creative, sales has access to more customers. HR starts hiring differently. CEOs look differently with strategy. Maybe they go into a different industry. Everyone has access to more of the picture, to more solutions, to different questions, because you're expanding your mind, you're expanding your consciousness. Everything's in the more we understand consciousness, you'll start to understand it's fundamental to our reality. And the best thing my teacher ever told me was knowledge is structured in consciousness. Everything you've ever learned, anything you've ever spoken, anything you've ever thought, anything you've ever watched on a lecture, in a podcast, on a speaker on stage, that information, those thoughts are coming from somewhere. It's all coming from consciousness. So if you give access to every employee in the company, that they have access to consciousness and they have access to more and better knowledge, it's like running the 4-minute mile. It's impossible. Someone ran it. Now everyone can run it. When you give them something they have access to, they can't unhear it. They can't unlearn it. And it's never going to be the same. And there's very little structure to it. It's very malleable in a world that's changing daily. That's what we need, because all of the ROI, the KPIs, which will still be there. Don't worry, business owners. Look where it's led us. We can have both. It doesn't need to be an either or. It doesn't need to be taken down. Money's not evil. No, we have great structure. We have great companies. We have great people. We just need to expand their awareness, and we need to do it in a different way, a better way. That's it.
Yeah. And it would take a huge mindset shift for this to work, wouldn't it? And then in that case, what would need to happen first?
Well, here's the thing. I'm sure, would you agree with me that time's kind of speeding up? Can you feel that?
Yeah.
Okay, so the construct of time, we're the only things that talk about time in linear fashion. The humans are the only, universe does not care about that. So as we say time speeds up, the construct of time is dissolving. So things are speeding up. So those early business books about early adopters, the bell curve, and it's going to take 5 or 10 years, that's not relevant anymore. You mark my words, how quickly this turns on. Everything that used to take a year is going to take a week. With this position, yeah. And back in the day when people weren't ready for it, it'd take a couple years, maybe a couple will get hired, and then it would be cute, kind of like the chief conscious officer that the Salesforce did way back in the 2020. But this is consciousness. This is physical now. More people are talking about it. This is not going to be a 5 to 10 year process. This is going to be this year. We've done 60 of these podcasts in the last 2 months. We've had hundreds of people coming to us looking to get trained as this position. We have business owners coming to us continuously asking, please tell me more. What does this mean? How's it going to impact me? How can I look at this? Where can I find these people? We're creating a university program for this, just like anyone that goes to university and business school. This is not going to be a couple years. This is going to be now. And the companies are going to be dying very quickly, very urgently to get consciousness officers on staff. So if they've got someone internally that they think is neutral and understands consciousness, then they're gonna send them to us and they're gonna get trained. But one thing that I think we mentioned earlier, but I want to make very clear, consciousness is not spiritual. This position has nothing to do with the wellness program. It has nothing to do with mindfulness or meditation. It's about consciousness, which is every aspect of your business and every single one of your employees. This person needs a business background. They need to understand business. They need to talk the lingo. They need to understand the spiritual side of everything as well. But they're going to bridge the world. They're going to bridge that gap. They're going to bridge those two together. And they're going to be able to talk to anyone at any level of the company, whether they're spiritual or religious, or they're atheist, or they're Republican, or they're Democrat, because they're neutral and they can handle it. And they can talk to everyone wherever they're at and meet them right where they're at to expand their awareness and expand their consciousness. If I'm a company owner, small, medium, or large, and I just said what I said, why would you not want that person? Why wouldn't you want to try it at least? So that's the other thing we're doing. I'll give them 30 days. Just do 30 days. See what happens when I speak with your executives. I talk to customer service. I'm in your meetings. Maybe you ask for some advice on something. Just give me 30 days. Watch what happens.
Yeah, that sounds very, very exciting. And I fully on your page, Charlie, the decisions and the speed we are moving is much faster. Decisions are much quicker. We need to adapt quicker. And I think the best leaders of the future are the ones who are able to stand on the feet, being grounded and understand what's happening, but also, as you say, being conscious and not taking sides and not playing the games of what has been happening in the past. And I often say that I became a managing director of companies by elbowing my way to the top, playing the political games and so on. And there's no place for that anymore. It's a different kind of leaders needed.
It is. And on top of that, we haven't even spoken about AI. And as technology takes over, they're going to want more of humanity. AI speeding things up so quickly. It usually takes, again, years, decades for us to see the division, to see how bad it is or how good it is. It's immediate. AI's created so much division right now. It's technology's taken over like it already has. Humanity's wondering what's going on. Companies still want employees. Employees still want to be human. We still need to bring that connection. This position just for AI is worth it. Just to keep the humanity, to help people remove the fear of what's going on, because you see the full picture. You're not for it and you're not against it. So you're not continuously manipulating employees to tell them it's okay when you know it's not, and you're not against it. So you're not continuously creating fear to scare the hell out of everyone. Again, that right there is worth a position within a company.
Yeah, I love that. Really, really exciting to have you with us on the show today, Charley, to bring this concept of Chief Conscious Officer to us. I feel very energized and excited and looking forward to follow the progress of this. And is there anything that I forgot to ask you? Any message that you want to leave the listeners with before we let you go today?
No, I'm sure you'll put it in the show notes. The best way to contact me is through LinkedIn. The conversation's live. We're always talking about what the position is, but also especially what it's not, so people have clarity on it. Again, they can do the 30-day thing where they kind of have me jump on board for 30 days just to test it out. We're training CCOs, and it's going to be very soon. There's going to be a lot of companies hiring for this position.
Sounds really, really exciting, Charley. And thanks for coming on the show. And to all the listeners, check Charley's LinkedIn page out, and looking forward to continue following this space. Thank you and have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, Nick.